Very good morning, students. Today, let us discuss one important concept called cyclotron. Cyclotron. It was designed in the year of 1935 by Lawrence and Livingstone. Lawrence and Livingstone. This instrument is used to accelerate charged particles like alpha particles, deuterons, etc. This cyclotron works on the principle of motion of charged particle in strong magnetic field. Whenever we repeatedly make a charged particle to revolve in a circular path, it acquires very high energy and it moves so faster. So in this way, in order to accelerate charged particles like alpha particles and deuterons, we use the instrument called cyclotrons. So from a cyclotron, we will get a fast moving alpha particle, a fast moving deuteron. So the accelerated charged particles can be generated by cyclotron. So cyclotron is a particle accelerator which is used to increase the energy of charged particles like alpha particles and deuterons. This cyclotron consists of two D-shaped chambers. This cyclotron consists of two D-shaped chambers. You can imagine a tiffin box which is cut into two portions like this. Each portion of the box is having some hollow space inside it and the shape is like this. The two D-shaped boxes are having very large dimensions. They are kept in a metal chamber. They are kept in a special chamber provided with very low pressure up to the order of 10 power minus 3 mm of Hg. This metal chamber is provided with a very low pressure gas at 10 power minus 3 mm of Hg. This entire arrangement is kept horizontally between the strong magnetic poles. Very huge magnetic poles are available like this. This is the North Pole, this is the South Pole. In between these two strong magnetic poles, the arrangement of these can be viewed vertically like this. Like this. These two D's are kept in a chamber. This is a D1, this is a D2. This is a D1, this is a D2. Okay. Whatever particle you need to accelerate, the source of that particle should be kept in the middle. From this source, the charged particle to be accelerated will come out. Here, magnetic field is either into the paper or out of the paper. These two D's are like this. Magnetic poles are kept on the top and at the bottom. So lines of force will cross the surface area of D's in a perpendicular direction. So magnetic field is either into the paper or out of the paper. Suppose magnetic field is out of the paper like this. Within this strong magnetic field, the arrangement of two Ds is observed like this. Within the strong magnetic field created by the two strong magnetic poles, the arrangement is observed like this. Here these dots are indicating magnetic field is out of the paper. Magnetic field is out of the paper. So what will happen? In this magnetic field, the charged particle comes out from the source, which is kept in the middle. Now what will happen? It is connected to a oscillator. Oscillator means here it may get positive and negative. Again positive and negative are altered. Again negative and positive, like that. This oscillator develops some charge on the D. If suppose positive charge is developed on the D, means negative charge is developed over here. In the next cycle, the negative will be developed here and positive will be developed here. Depending on the frequency of this oscillator, the positive and the negative charges are going to interchange with one another. By the time when the charged particle is released here, suppose the charged particle is having positive charge. This positive charged particle will be attracted by the negative potential of this D1. So it will try to enter into this field. As per Fleming left hand rule, magnetic field and current, if you observe like this, this is current, this is magnetic field, and this is the force. Magnetic field is out of out of the paper. Current is like this, so it experiences a force. So the force makes this particle to move in a circular path. The force makes this particle to move in a circular path. So whatever particle comes out, because of the force experienced by the magnetic field, it will move. Suppose it is like this. This positive charged particle is released from here. It is attracted by the negative potential of this D. It is coming here. Okay. So current is like this. Field is out of the paper and it experiences a force. So because of this force, it will change its path to semicircle or circle. So again, after completion of semicircle, it will come here. By the moment, if we change the polarity of the D, earlier it is having negative potential, it is having positive potential. Now it is having positive potential and it is having negative potential. By the time when it reaches here, exactly if the polarity on this D is going to alter, now it become negative D. So it will attract the positive charged particle. Again it will go like this. 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 So it will do multiple times of rotations like this. In every rotation it is going to increase its energy, and once it reaches the required energy, it will comes out and it hits the target. It comes out and it hits the target. So here, why it is moving in a circular path of increasing radius? Now let us understand. Actually, if Q is the charge available on the charged particle, so this charged particle is attracted by some negative potential here. So because of that force, it is moving into this chamber. Once the charge is moving, it is expected as current. This current is experiencing some force. So because of the force experienced by that current carrying conductor like that charged particle, it will move into a circular path. Okay. The force here, B is the strength of the magnetic field. B is the strength of the magnetic field. If B is the strength of the magnetic field, Q is the charge available on this and if it is entering into this chamber with a speed v, the force experienced by it is q into force experienced by the charged particle because of the magnetic field is given by v bar cross b bar. Force experienced by it is given by q into v bar cross b bar. But v bar and b bar are perpendicular to each other. B bar is out of the paper, v bar is on paper. So it is nothing but BVQ. BVQ. This force is making this particle to move in a circular path. So it is acting as centripetal force. Hence I can equate it with mv square by r. V and square gets cancelled. R is equal to mv by bq. R is equal to mv by bq. Here m is the mass of the particle which is fixed. B is the strength of magnetic field which is also fixed. Q is the charge on the particle which is also fixed. Only variable is V. When V increases, R gets increases. R proportional to V. If you observe clearly, initially it is attracted by the negative potential of the D. So force due to this electrostatic attraction gives some acceleration. Once again it is coming here, again it is attracted by the negative potential on this D. So every time it is undergoing some accelerated motion due to the attraction of the positive or negative potential over the D's. Continuously the electric field which is oscillating between the two D's is accelerating the charged particle. Once the charged particle is getting accelerated, its velocity is going to increase. As velocity of the particle is increasing, radius of the path followed by it also gets increases. So in every rotation, the particle is accelerated 2 times. Particle is accelerated by first this d, next by this d. As it is getting accelerated, its velocity is increasing, therefore the radius of the path followed by it is also increasing. So continuously it is making number of rotations, and it is as velocity is increasing, its kinetic energy is increasing. So it is going to hit the target with very high speed. Very high speed. So we are energizing the charged particle. We are energizing the charged particle by the application of continuous electric field, and we are making that charged particle to move in a fixed magnetic field. Here the magnetic field is very, very strong, very high capacity containing North Pole and South Pole are arranged. The size of the cyclotron is very, very large. It is like our school building, that much size arrangement it is. Here, one point you should remember. What is the time taken by the particle to complete half circle? Why we require the time? Actually, we need to adjust the frequency of this oscillator. By the time of completion of semicircular motion, its polarity should change. Then only it will again attract the particle to the other D. Soon after completion of half circle, the second D should have the opposite polarity of the charge of the particle to attract it, like that. So the frequency of oscillator is to be adjusted in such a way that by the time of the particle to reach this D, by completing semicircle, the polarity should change. So what is the time required? Time means distance by velocity. Distance is, pi r is the distance to be travelled by the particle. Pi r is the distance to be travelled by the particle. It should travel with a speed v. Okay. What is the velocity of the particle? From here, velocity of the particle is given by bqr by m. Substitute it here. Pi r by bqr by m. RR gets cancelled. So pi m by bq. Pi m by bq. So time can be calculated by using this formula. Pi is 3.14, which is fixed value. M is the mass of the particle, which is fixed. B is the strength of the magnetic field, which is fixed. Q is the charge on the particle, which is also fixed. Now, based on this time, that frequency of oscillator is to be adjusted. How to calculate frequency? Frequency of oscillator is 1 by time period. Time period means time taken for one complete rotation. Time period means time taken for one complete rotation. Complete rotation means it has to complete this half circle, again half circle over here. So you can take it as 1 by 2t. So the frequency of oscillator should be 1 by 2 pi m by BQ. BQ will go to the numerator. So BQ by 2 pi m is the frequency of oscillator, which is also called cyclotron frequency, which is also known as cyclotron frequency. Similarly, if you want to calculate the energy of the particle with which it is coming out, energy means every moving particle possesses kinetic energy. So energy of particle nothing but kinetic energy of the particle is given by half mv square. M is the mass of the particle, v is the velocity. Velocity now only we calculated as bqr by m. So half into m into bqr by m whole square. So b square q square r square by m square, m and square gets cancelled. B square q square r square by 2m. B square q square r square by 2m will give me the energy of the particle. So maximum energy with which it will come and hit the target. This is the target. If you want maximum energy, Ke maximum, nothing but half into here b square q square by 2m is constant into r square. R should have maximum value, that is r naught. R naught is equal to r maximum, nothing but radius of the d. This particle may increase the radius till the periphery of the d. So maximum radius, if it is r naught, nothing but r naught is the maximum radius, nothing but radius of the d. Once the particle reaches to the periphery of the d, radius gets maximum value. Once radius gets maximum value, the kinetic energy of the particle also gets maximum. So this is the construction and working of a cyclotron. Once again you say, what is cyclotron? Cyclotron is an instrument which was designed by Lawrence and Livingstone in the year of 1935. The purpose of the design of the cyclotron is to accelerate the charged particles like alpha particles, deuterons, and any either positive or negative charged particles except electrons. Electrons are having very, very small mass, 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kgs, very negligible when compared to protons. Such a small mass containing particle cannot be accelerated here. Any particle whose size is very nearer to proton or more than proton, they can be accelerated easily. So that is the limitation of cyclotron. Let us see what are the uses and what are the limitations. Once again, the first use of the cyclotron is, which is used to generate energized particles like alpha particles and deuterons. It is used to implant ions into solids. It is used to implant ions into solids and modify the properties, which is used in the synthesis of new materials. This is one more use. It is used in hospitals to produce artificial radioactive substances which can be used in diagnosis and treatment of a disease. The limitations are, as the charged particle is accelerated, its velocity gets increases. You know that there is a formula given by Einstein. Relativistic mass is given by rest mass by square root of 1 minus v square by c square. If v increases nearer to c, what will happen? Its mass is going to change. Once mass is going to change, it cannot go for sustained rotations inside the chamber. Therefore, light mass containing particles like electrons cannot be accelerated with the help of cyclotron. So as the charged particle is accelerating, its velocity is increasing and hence its mass increases. Once mass increases, sustained rotation of the particle will not take place. Sustained rotation means, I told you clearly, once the particle completes its semicircular path, by that time the d's polarity should change. Then only it will be attracted further into the other d and further it is allowed to move in a circular path of heavy radius or more radius. So this relativistic mass, as velocity increases, denominator value is going to decrease, mass of the particle is going to increase. When mass of the particle is increasing, again the radius of the path is going to alter. Once the radius changes, the time taken for sustained rotation also changes. It's very difficult to accelerate the particle. So what is the principle involved here? Continuous acceleration of the charged particle by the electric field and continuous rotation of the particle in a magnetic field leads to the development of energized charged particles. With the help of cyclotron, we can hit a target with a fast moving deuteron or alpha particle. Neutrons cannot be accelerated here because neutrons are not having charge. Once they doesn't have charge, the radius of the path becomes infinity. So it is not possible for acceleration of neutral particles like neutrons. It is not possible to accelerate very light particles like electrons. Remaining all heavy charged particles can be accelerated by the cyclotron by adjusting the frequency of oscillators such that soon after completion of this semicircular motion of a particle, the polarity on the d should change. So this is about the cyclotron. Once again, you read the concept through the textbook. It is very important question for 12th class CBSE exam. 12th class CBSE board exam question it is. Even in last year also they asked the same question. How do you accelerate a charged particle? By a special technique. Explain with the theory and limitations. What are the limitations means? Light particles cannot be, light in the sense very small mass containing particles cannot be accelerated sustainedly within the d's of a cyclotron. Very good morning, students. Today let us discuss one more beautiful concept called Hall effect. Hall effect. Hall effect. It was given by a scientist called E.H. Hall in the year of 1897. 1897. In this year, a scientist called E.H. Hall introduced the concept of Hall effect. According to Hall effect, whenever we apply magnetic field across a current carrying conductor, whenever we apply magnetic field across a current carrying conductor in such a way that the direction of magnetic field is perpendicular to the direction of motion of current. Let me take a conductor like this. For my convenience, let me take the system of coordinate axis like this. This is origin, x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Current is flowing in one direction. We should apply magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of motion of current. We should apply magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of motion of current. Suppose this is the direction of flow of current. Current is passing through these two cross sections like this. Conventional current is going like this, means each and every electron will have a drift in the opposite direction. Here current is moving along x-axis and magnetic field is applied parallel to y-axis. Magnetic field is applied parallel to y-axis. What will happen? Whenever a charged particle is moving inside a magnetic field, it experiences some force. The direction of force experienced is given by Fleming left hand rule. This is the direction of conventional current. So this is the direction of magnetic field parallel to y-axis. This is the direction of conventional current parallel to x-axis. Then force experienced by the conductor carrying current in the direction will be in the downward direction. This is the direction of conventional current. Conventional current means the direction in which positive charges are moving. So these positive charges will experience a force in downward direction. These positive charges will experience a force in the downward direction. These positive charges will experience a force in the downward direction. Electron current is opposite to conventional current. If conventional current is going like this, magnetic field is like this, force is like this on the positive charged particles. If you talk about negative charged particles, so negative charged particles will experience force in the same. This current is like this, magnetic field is like this, so force will be upwards. So all the negative charged electrons will accumulate on one face of the conductor. All the positive ions will accumulate on the other face of the conductor. These two faces are perpendicular to the other two faces. Current is passing through one set of faces opposite to one another. Magnetic field is applied across one set of faces like this. This positive potential and negative potential are developed on the other set of faces. This effect is called Hall effect, and the potential difference between these two surfaces is called Hall potential difference. If you attach a voltmeter here, the reading of voltmeter is Hall voltage or Hall potential difference. Once again you say, what is the definition of Hall effect? According to Hall effect, whenever we apply magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of motion of current, then we experience a potential difference across the other two faces of the conductor, which are perpendicular to both the current as well as magnetic field. So if current is going along x-axis, magnetic field is applied along y-axis, some electric field is generated parallel to z-axis. This is called Hall electric field. The potential difference between the 2 points is called Hall potential difference. Hall potential difference. Here, mathematically, if we need an expression for Hall potential or Hall electric field strength, let us do a small calculation like this. Let L be the length of the conductor, B be the breadth of the conductor, H be the height of the conductor. These are the dimensions of the conductor I considered. Let small n is number of charge carriers per unit volume of conductor, per unit volume of conductor. I is the strength of electric current passing through one set of phases. B is the strength of magnetic field applied perpendicular to the direction of motion of current across others two set of phases. And VH is the Hall potential developed on the other two set of phases. Here, every charged particle, let Q is the charge on each particle. Q is the charge on each particle. The force experienced by this charged particle because of the magnetic field is given by Q into V bar cross B bar. Here V bar and B bar are perpendicular to each other. V is the velocity of the electron, nothing but drift velocity. Okay? V bar is perpendicular to B bar, so sin 90 is 1. So it is written as Q VB or BVQ, QVB. In the place of charge, you can keep E in case of electron. Electrons are moving with a drift velocity Vd. In the magnetic field of strength B, you can write like that. This is the force experienced by the charged particle because of the magnetic field. Force experienced by the charged particle because of the magnetic field. The same electron will experience a force due to electric field. Force due to electric field is given by EE. This EH is different from this E. This E is applied electric field. Because of the electric field, the electric field means which is responsible for the passage of current here. That electric field will apply a force on this electron whose magnitude is given by EE. EE. Here, because of the magnetic field, the charged particle should get a motion in curved path. Should get a motion in curved path. Because of the electric field, already we discussed the concept of motion of charged particle in electric field and magnetic field. So magnetic field will try to move the particle in circular path. Electric field will try to make the particle in parabolic path. For example, as magnetic field is like this, so it is experiencing force in this direction, this electron. So it has to go like this. Because of the electric field, it has to go in parabolic path. Both are balancing with one another. That means force due to electric field and force due to magnetic field, if I balance them each other, it will continue to move on the straight line path. The electric field will try to make the particle to move in parabolic path. Because of the positive potential developed here, it will get motion like this. Because of the magnetic field here, magnetic field is like this, means it has to experience force in the upward direction. So it has to move in this way. This is the path that has to be traveled by the electron because of the magnetic field. This is the path that has to be traveled by electric field individually. But both the fields are applied simultaneously. Hence, the electron will try to continue in the same straight line path whenever we make force due to electric field equated with force due to magnetic field. Now, if I equate them, force due to magnetic field is B, VD, E. Force due to electric field is E, E. E gets cancelled. VD is equal to E by B. VD is equal to E by B. So the drift velocity of the electron is given by strength of electric field applied. What is E? E is the strength of applied electric field. EH is the Hall electric field. VH is Hall potential difference, Hall voltage. Anything you can write. This condition is called velocity selector condition. What is velocity selector condition? Whenever we want to make a charged particle to move in a straight line path with constant velocity, it should be kept between one electric field and magnetic field applied perpendicular to one another. If the strength of electric field and magnetic field, if you consider the ratio of them, will give the drift speed of that particular electron. We made force applied by the electric field is equal to force applied by the magnetic field. So, the electron will try to continue in the straight line path with a velocity given by the ratio of electric field strength to magnetic field strength. So, this is the velocity selector condition. Now, I would like to calculate the potential difference, Hall potential difference. How to calculate Hall potential difference? Potential difference and electric field strength both are related like this. E is equal to V by D. Here, in the place of E, if I consider Hall electric field developed is equal to Hall potential by, this Hall potential is developed over a separation of height h. Now, I need to calculate an expression for Hall potential difference. Now you take this condition again, force due to electric field and force due to magnetic field. Here E is equal to BVD, the same thing. If I consider here In the place of Vd, you keep Vd directly. In the place of here, if I write EH, by B, EH can be replaced by VH by H. Already here B is available. So Hall potential is given by Vd Hb. Vd Hb. You already calculated drift speed. We already know that drift velocity is given by J by Ne. Okay, J means current density, J is given by I by A. Vd can be written as I by ANE. So if you substitute it here, Hall voltage is given by I H P by A N E. A is nothing but area of cross section. So I can write Hall potential as I by IHB by, in the place of A means area of cross section through which the current is passing. Area of cross section is nothing but H into B. This is the area of cross section through which it is going. A N E. So by knowing the strength of current passing through the conductor, by knowing the height through which the current is passing, by knowing the area of cross section. Otherwise, area of cross section can be replaced with HB. If I write HB here, only you are left with B. You can write it. In the place of A, I can write HB. B means breadth. So by using this formula, you can calculate Hall potential. You know that V is equal to IR. Hall potential is taken as the product of strength of current into Hall resistance. So Hall resistance is given by HB by ANE. Otherwise HB by, in the place of A, if I write H small b and E, HH cancel, B by B and E. This is called Hall resistance. So in this way, we are able to calculate Hall potential as well as Hall resistance. Hall potential as well as Hall resistance. What is the use of all this calculation? The major idea behind this experiment is to find number of charge carriers available in a particular conductor. If you take copper, the number of charge carriers per unit volume is a fixed value. In aluminum, we will have some N value. In gold, we have some another N value. So for every conductor, for every insulator, for every semiconductor, the number of charge carriers per unit volume is a fixed quantity. We cannot physically calculate what is the N value. N value can be calculated by using this Hall potential. You know the strength of current, you know the strength of magnetic field you applied, you know the dimensions of the conductor, you know the charge of the carrier. So from this formula you can calculate the number of charge carriers available per unit volume. Also, we can find the nature of charge carriers, whether charge is carried by positive charged particles or whether charge is carried by negative charged particles, who is the major charge carrier, who is the minor charge carrier. All these ideas can be identified with the help of this Hall effect. So the main use of the Hall effect is to find the number of charge carriers available per unit volume in a given conductor by measuring Hall potential or Hall resistance. Similarly, nature of charge carriers can also be identified with the help of Hall effect. So these are the two major ideas behind the Hall effect. Once again, you tell me what is a Hall effect? Briefly, if you want to say, whenever we apply magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of motion of current through a conductor, on the other set of phases, through one set of phases current is passing, through one more set of phases magnetic field is applied. The remaining two phases are available in perpendicular direction to both. On those set of phases, we will get a potential difference. The phenomenon of generation of potential difference across the other two set of phases due to the application of magnetic field perpendicular to the direction of motion of current through a conductor is called Hall effect. The idea of Hall effect enables us to find the number of charge carriers available per unit volume in a given conductor, and also it is helpful to know the nature of charge carriers and who is the major charge carrier, who is the minor charge carrier in a given solid substance or in a given conductor with the help of Hall effect. So it's a very famous effect. Here what you have to understand is what is velocity selector condition. Whenever we make strength of electric field and strength of magnetic field is equal to one another, then the electron or the charged particle which is moving perpendicular to both of them will try to continue in the same straight line path without having any deviation with a constant speed. That constant speed is given by the ratio of the strength of electric field to magnetic field. This condition is called velocity selector condition. In the place of, actually we know that the electric field and electric potential are related by here. If you take Hall EMF, Hall potential you should consider. If you take general electric field, then potential difference across these two surfaces you should consider in this formula. But in the place of general electric field, I considered Hall electric field. So in the place of general potential difference, I should consider Hall potential difference. So by substituting this here, you will get the velocity selector condition. Based on the velocity selector condition, I calculated Hall potential difference. I also calculated Hall resistance. Also, I defined velocity selector condition. The use of this is to find the number of charge carriers per unit volume available in the conductor, and also this effect will help us to know the nature of charge carriers. So these points you should remember while dealing with Hall effect. Let us see some important note points. Note number 1. In magnetic field, a charged particle is moving means it is experiencing some force. This force makes the charged particle to deviate its path. It doesn't produce any acceleration. Generally, whenever there is a force, the force is providing some acceleration. But in case of magnetic field, the particle experiences only deviation of path. Magnetic field can only deviate the particle. Magnetic field can only deviate the path of a charged moving particle without changing its speed and kinetic energy. This is the first note you should remember. However, electric field accelerates the particle. You know that force due to magnetic field is Q into V bar cross B bar. This force is responsible to change the direction of motion of the particle into curved path or circular path, as we discussed earlier according to Fleming left hand rule. But electrical force due to electric field, F is equal to EQ, that is equal to MA. So A is equal to EQ by M. This is the acceleration got by a particle due to its motion in electric field. Electric field provides acceleration, whereas magnetic field produces only deviation of path. Magnetic force is responsible for deviation of path. Electrical force is responsible for acceleration of a particle. One more important point. Already we discussed velocity selector condition. Note number 2. If net force acting on a particle, that means force due to magnetic field plus force due to electric field, is 0. Net force acts on the particle is 0. It means Q into V bar cross B bar plus EQ is equal to 0. That means V bar cross B bar plus E bar is equal to 0 bar, strictly speaking. Net force is vector, 0 vector, which means E bar is equal to minus of V bar cross B bar. Otherwise, if you multiply minus here, it becomes B bar cross V bar. If the angle between B and B is 90, if theta is 90, E is equal to BB or V is equal to E by B, where theta is the angle between the velocity vector and magnetic field vector. That means if the particle moves perpendicular to a magnetic field, then BV is equal to E, V is equal to E by B. The particle moves with a constant speed. Since strength of electric field is constant, strength of magnetic field is constant. This net force is 0. Net force is 0 means particle will move in the same straight line path without deviating its path with a constant speed. This constant speed is given by E by B. This condition is called velocity selector condition. This condition is called velocity selector condition. So, if we apply, suppose electric field is like this. Magnetic field means we are representing with some circle, either into the paper or out of the paper. So magnetic field is into the paper, electric field is like this. If the particle enters perpendicular to these two, that means magnetic field and electric field. Okay. It continues its straight line path of journey with a constant speed v, which is given by E by v. Without deviating a particle from its actual path, and if we want to make the particle to move with a constant speed, you should keep that particle to move in a crossed field. Crossed field means electric field should be perpendicular to magnetic field, and the direction of motion of particle is perpendicular to both. Here, magnetic field is either into the paper or out of the paper. Electric field is on the paper like this. Suppose electric field is along x-axis, magnetic field is along y-axis, the particle is moving along z-axis. So, the condition for velocity selector vectorially represented as E bar is equal to B bar cross V bar. As the angle between B and V is 90 here, the particle moves with a constant speed called E by B. Such a field is called crossed field. The particle motion in that crossed field is with a constant speed, and this condition is called velocity selector condition. One more note, let us understand. Note number 3. If we calculate work done by magnetic force per unit time, work done by magnetic force per unit time, that means work done by time taken I should take. Work done is nothing but F bar dot S bar by T. It can be written as F bar dot S bar by T, F bar dot V bar. As you said, time is 1 second. So W is equal to F bar dot V bar. F bar means by which force? Work is done by magnetic force. So in the place of F, I should take FB. So that is Q into V bar cross B bar dot V bar. Q into V bar cross B bar dot V bar. As per the definition of triple product, its value is 0. Triple product means A bar dot B bar cross C bar. So its value becomes 0. That means work done by the magnetic force is always 0. As work done is 0, work done can be taken as change in kinetic energy. So the change in kinetic energy is 0. So kinetic energy of the particle is always constant. That's what I said in the first note. Whenever we apply magnetic field over a charged particle which is moving through it, only magnetic field deviates the path of the particle. It will not bring any change in its speed, or it will not bring any change in its kinetic energy. The same thing I mentioned in note number 3. So, by considering all these note points as well as concepts, we may do a lot of applications. Let us do a few applications based on these ideas.